When you look at it from the outside, Jennifer Dulos's life seemed, well, perfect. She had the Ivy League education, the wealthy background, 5 beautiful kids, and this charismatic, successful husband. It was literally the picture of a perfect life. But as we're about to see, behind that perfect facade, a completely different story was unfolding. One of fear, control, and a disappearance that would leave the entire country asking, how on earth could this happen? And this is what's absolutely chilling about this whole thing. Jennifer knew. She saw it coming. These are her own words from a divorce filing just 2 years before she vanished. This wasn't some random tragic event. It was the final, terrifying chapter in a story that she was trying so desperately to escape. So to really get what went so tragically wrong, we have to start at the beginning. We need to peel back the layers of this world they built together, this, well, picture-perfect facade created by Jennifer and her husband, Fotis Dulos. I mean, on paper, they were a total powerhouse couple. Both were super smart, ambitious graduates from Brown University. You've got Jennifer, who came from this creative, wealthy family, and then there's Fotis, a driven, Greek-born entrepreneur. They actually met their very first week of college, and even though it took years for them to reconnect, when they finally did, it seemed like fate. They got married and settled down in Connecticut to start what everyone thought was going to be the ideal family life. Okay, and this is where things get really fascinating, the huge gap between the dream and the reality. In her own essays, Jennifer had written about dreaming of this high society life, managing her family's busy calendar. But the life she actually got? It was the total opposite. She became really isolated, her own writing career got pushed to the side, and she was forced into his hobbies, like competitive water skiing, which she apparently absolutely hated. But a facade like that, it can only hold up for so long, right? So let's take a look at how those first cracks started to appear and how they eventually just shattered the whole picture. 5. Just think about that number for a second. That's how many kids they had together, including 2 sets of twins. Can you just imagine the sheer intensity of that household, the constant demands, the financial stress? On top of all that, Fotis's business was chaotic and they were always moving. This wasn't just the normal stress of a big family, it was a total pressure cooker, and it was making every other crack in their relationship a whole lot bigger. And this went way beyond normal marital problems. Fotis's behavior got more and more controlling. He was pushing the kids into these grueling water ski competitions, and he was systematically cutting Jennifer off from her own friends. She even wrote that the entire family was, quote, terrified to disobey him. Fear, that had become the foundation of their home. I mean, this quote right here, it's just so heartbreaking. Years before she disappeared, she wrote this on her personal blog. You can just feel her internal struggle. She knows there's a problem, but she's absolutely terrified of the confrontation. It's the voice of someone who knows deep down that they're trapped. And then came the breaking points. In 2017, Fotis admits he's having an affair with a woman named Michelle Troconis. And then, get this, he suggests that Michelle could just move into the family home with them. Around that same time, he buys a handgun, completely breaking a promise they'd made to never have guns in the house. For Jennifer, that was it. She secretly made an escape plan, and one night in June of 2017, she took the kids and she fled. Her escape kicked off this bitter 2-year divorce battle, and it all came to a head on one critical day. So let's go to May 24th, 2019, the day Jennifer Dulos simply vanished. So the day starts out totally normal. Jennifer drops her kids off at school, and a neighbor's security camera catches her car pulling back into her driveway. But she never shows up for her doctor's appointments in New York City. Then, when the nanny, Lauren Almeida, gets to the house, she finds these small but really ominous signs. Jennifer's purse is on the floor, her car is still in the garage when it should have been in the city, and weirdly an entire roll of paper towels was missing. By that night, her other car was found abandoned. Jennifer Dulos was officially a missing person. So, Jennifer's gone, and the police investigation immediately zeroes in on Fotis. It really didn't take long for a trail of evidence, both digital and physical, to start revealing exactly what happened that day. So, think about this. How do you solve a case when you have no body, no weapon, and no confession? How did investigators possibly prove what happened that morning? Well, it all came down to a few critical pieces of evidence. It all started with CCTV footage. Investigators found video from that night showing Fotis and his girlfriend Michelle Troconis making 30 stops along a 4-mile stretch of road just dumping trash bags. When police found those bags, they discovered Jennifer's blood-stained clothing and zip ties, items that suggest a violent attack. Then the forensic evidence came in, and this was huge. Back at Jennifer's house, they found her blood in the garage. And on the kitchen faucet, they found a mixture of her blood and Fotis's DNA, a direct link putting him right at the crime scene. And finally, at Fotis's own house, they found a handwritten timeline of his and Michelle's movements for that day, what prosecutors would later call their alibi script. And this is where their whole story just fell apart. Police interviewed Michelle Troconis 3 different times, and her story kept changing. At first, she repeated that alibi script almost word for word. But under pressure, she finally cracked and admitted that Fotis was not home when she woke up on May 24th. With that one sentence, his entire alibi just evaporated. So, with the evidence mounting and the alibi completely destroyed, the case moved towards its inevitable conclusion. So what was the final outcome for the people at the very center of this tragedy? Well, Fotis Dulos would never face a jury. In January of 2020, when he was facing the possibility of having his bond revoked and being sent back to jail, he took his own life. He left a note behind, still proclaiming his innocence, writing that he refused to spend even an hour in jail for something I had nothing to do with. For many, it was just a cowardly escape. But the story wasn't over. Michelle Troconis did go to trial. And in March 2024, despite the fact that Jennifer's body has still never been found, a jury found her guilty on all counts, including conspiracy to commit murder. The circumstantial evidence, the CCTV footage, the DNA, her changing stories, it was all enough. And so at the end of all this, we're left with this final haunting question. A conviction was made. Someone was held responsible. But Jennifer Dulos has never been found. Her 5 children, they have a verdict, but they don't have their mother. So we have to ask ourselves, is this justice, or is it just an ending to a story that will never, ever truly be closed?